Welcome back to Tutorial Tidbits and welcome to my channel. I'm Elizabeth St. Hilaire and this week I have a fun announcement to make. I have my foam stamps on 25% off at joggles.com. I've got many designs of foam stamps and I'm going to show you how to use them in a unique and different way on the gel plate this week. So if you've got a few minutes, let's go check it out. Welcome back. So in celebration of my foam stamp designs being on sale, 25% off at Joggles, this week's video I'm going to show you how to make some interesting prints with foam stamps on the gel plate. I'm using my 9x11 gel plate. I'm using two 6-inch Speedball Deluxe sprayers as well as a 2-inch sprayer. I like to have two 6-inch sprayers because I use one for cool colors and one for warm colors, and then that way I don't worry about cross-contamination of the colors and I don't have to get them completely clean in between prints. I'm using the 2-inch sprayer to spread paint in a small area on the plate, and I'm using my favorite pad of rice paper. This is the 9x12 rice paper. It is smooth on one side, very smooth. That is the side that goes down on the plate and it pulls all the paint off the plate. And it's a very thick and sturdy rice paper, so it's not going to tear, and it works great for multiple layers. So the foam stamps that I'm going to be using today are a combination of a stamp that has a large area and a stamp that has a small area. So what do I mean by that? Here's a Starburst stamp that has a large flat area that's going to remove a lot of paint, and I'm going to combine that with the Starry Spirals, which has a small area that's going to be a nice contrast to the large area of the first one. The second combo is going to be my Seed Pod stamp. That's the small area, and I'm going to put that together with the large area of the Starry Night from the Van Gogh collection. And then lastly, I've got a citrus wheel that has another large area that will be a great combo for the twinkling stars and moons of the Van Gogh collection with the small area. So that's what you want to combine, is large area with small area, or large detail with small detail foam stamps. So the first thing I'm going to do is put out a layer of turquoise phthalo paint, golden fluid acrylics onto the plate. And I'm going to spread that with my 2-inch sprayer so that I get coverage but not complete, because I want to leave some room for my second color to show through. Then I'm going to take my large area foam stamp and press it into the plate to remove paint, taking the pattern out of the turquoise phthalo with the large area of this stamp. So I'm especially going to focus on the large area of this moon, so it pulls out a pattern into the turquoise phthalo. So now I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to put a layer of iridescent bright gold fine on top and pull the print with those two layers together. So I'm going to get my rice paper with my smooth side that's going to go down on the plate. I'm giving this just a couple minutes to dry. It shouldn't take long because it's quite warm out here. And then I am going to use my 6-inch sprayer that I use for warm colors, and I'm going to put the gold over the whole pattern that I've created with the first foam stamp. So we're just going to lay that right over and brayer the gold right over the top. And put my paper into the print. So now you can see the pattern that we removed out of the paint with the first stamp and the nice rough edges because we used the 2-inch brayer and didn't spread the paint over the whole plate. Isn't that fantastically beautiful? I just love that. So the next step then is to use the smaller area stamp and embellish over the top of this with a slightly darker color. So I'm going to set this aside and put out a sheet of palette paper, and I'm going to use a little bit of Payne's Gray, and this is just to provide another layer of accent on top. So we're going to just be stamping directly on the page. So I'm going to spread that out with my 2-inch brayer and apply it to the stamp. And I'll also press the stamp into that. And I want to go kind of lightly on here, but I'm just adding sort of another layer of texture and pattern to my print. So that's why it's important in the second layer to use a stamp that only applies a little bit of paint, not big heavy coverage. We just want a little bit of accent. So you want thin line, small pattern. And it's also very important that you throw your foam stamps face down into a basin of warm soapy water immediately. Don't let acrylic dry on the surface of foam stamps. So I've got a dish basin and I'm going to toss that right in there. And here you have a beautiful print created with 2 foam stamps and 3 colors working from light to dark. So the next combination I want to show you is these 2 stamps, and let's go with a different color. This time I'm going to start with ultramarine blue. Put that out and spread it with my 2-inch brayer, leaving some open space. You want a nice thin layer of paint, not too thick. And then I'm going to take my larger pattern stamp and press that into the paint to remove. And I'm just pressing it off to the side on a clean sheet of paper every time I press it into the paint to make sure the surface is clean. So you can print it onto another print. I've got another print over here, or a scrap cleanup sheet, just so that every time you come back into the paint, the surface is dry and it will pull off more paint that way. So the key with this is to overlap and intersect, not to just put them out like cookies on a cookie sheet. So you want some of them to intersect with each other and some of them to overlap and some of them to go right off the edge. And the key is to remove this pattern out of the ultramarine blue paint. And again, I'm going to throw that into the basin of warm soapy water. And the accent print that I'm going to put on top of this one is the twinkling stars and moons. And it is smaller marks than these large citrus wheel marks. So now we'll let this dry and we'll pull the print with a second layer of paint. And this time I think I'm going to go with blue. So making a whole blue print. So I'm going to use manganese blue. That's going to pull the background and give us this ultramarine pattern on top. So I've got my rice paper, smooth side is going down. I'm just going to give this a little bit of time to make sure that it's dry, because if it's not dry, then the manganese blue, when you roll it over, is going to disrupt this pattern. But it should dry pretty quick because that's the nature of the fluid acrylics. If you have to take a walk and get a drink and come back, don't be tempted to rush the process. So I think we're pretty good. So we're going to put the manganese blue over the whole print, come back in with my cool color brayer. And print. And here we get that great citrus wheel pattern removed out of the ultramarine and highlighted by the manganese. That is so beautiful. Really, really soft and painterly and beautiful. So now for the accent on this, I think I'm going to add gold or teal. Now the ultramarine with this manganese is pretty close to teal, so I'm thinking that gold would look really good on top of this. So I'm going to come back with my palette sheet and my iridescent bright gold fine, and I'm going to roll that out with the 2-inch brayer. Get a little bit of it on the stamp with the brayer first. And then pressing the stamp into the paint should give good coverage. And then again, you want to overlap and intersect and keep changing the direction. And print a few times before you put more paint on. You can get light effects and darker effects, subtle and more bold, depending on how much paint. And I'm going to go off the edges and putting that into the water. And here we have another beautiful multi-layered print created with the positive and negative foam stamping effect. This one is really pretty. I love the combination of the citrus wheel with the little tiny twinkling stars. All right, so far 2 beautiful prints with foam stamping. Let's go for one more with my last combination. This time I'm going to try orange. I'll use my 2-inch brayer. I've got to make sure I get that gold off of there. I'm going to put out Pyrrole Orange. Leaving some spaces for the second color to show through. And then again, I'm taking my large area foam stamp. I'm taking my large area foam stamp to press into and remove a pattern out of the Pyrrole Orange. Once that's dry, I'm going to come back in with a lighter color, Hansa Yellow Light. Put that over the top and use my warm color brayer and pull the print. And here again, we've got a beautiful remove paint effect in the orange with the yellow background. This one's a little more subtle than the others, but you can still see that big sunburst pattern in the orange. And for this one, I thought I would add teal to it to go completely cool over warm. So I'm gonna bring back my palette sheet, put out a little bit of teal paint with my 2-inch brayer. Apply that to the spiral thin line stamp. Press it into the paint and then transfer, changing the direction and the intensity of the color by sometimes printing 2 or 3 times before I put more paint on it. And then putting the stamp in the water. So here's another beautiful multi-layer foam stamp print in warm colors with teal accent. And then we've got the green one and the blue one. So some beautiful multi-layer, high texture prints for gel printing or crafting or art journaling or whatever you use your gel prints for. I hope you'll be inspired by the layers created with these foam stamps. They're on sale at Joggles. The link is down below the video, and thank you for being here. Well, I hope you're inspired by the color combinations and the foam stamp combinations from this week's tutorial tidbit. I look forward to hearing your comments. If you take the time to comment below, I will respond. So thanks again for being here. Consider subscribing either here on YouTube or on my blog. That link is in the upper right-hand corner. You can get these fantastic videos in your email box every week, and I'll see you right back here next Friday.